On this episode, we talk about elevation masks
and foot placement and positioning.
All right, Brent Porcio, Stephen Godina here at the @TopVelocity #PitchTips show, where you go to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, @TopVelocity #PitchTips. Ask your question, we answer on the show. We're going to be in Houston tomorrow for at the Zone. If you were coming to the Premier and the Zone, we've migrated them to the Zone. So we'll be at the Zone tomorrow, I think at 4 o'clock. So we'll see you there if you're coming out. So that's going to be Saturday the 20th. And we're still going to be in Long Beach March 26th. 3XLB, when you check out for a Velocity Camp, we'll give you $500 off. It's because it's a 3X clinic. And season's about to get started. It's cool already here in high school about to get started. Getting ready for spring training. I'm hoping we can go down to spring training this year. We'll probably go down to Tampa. Maybe Jupiter, right, Bob? Yeah. And so it's getting exciting, getting close to the summer. So it's already starting to get hot here in Louisiana. So if you haven't already, book your summer camps down here. They will fill it quick. Get your training set up. If you're looking for room and board, he might still have room left. I don't know. His landlord might be kicking him out because he has a dog.
I hope Tim Lincecum likes dogs when he comes.
Yeah, we haven't heard any word in Tim Lincecum. If you know Tim Lincecum, and if he needs help, please have him call us. We'd be glad to help him. So let's get started. What's our question for today?
Victor Vec asks, hey, I wanted to ask if elevation training mask will help me as a pitcher, or is it just a waste of my money?
So it's called hypoxic training, reduction of oxygen. I don't know much about it, but I read up on it. I've never used it in here. Never went up to like Colorado to train. What I found was there was one study that was a pretty good study out of Japan that showed a improvement in high intensity short interval training, which would be very similar to the 3X pitching or 2X velocity programs. And but the thing was, if you took the mask off in between sets or during the workout, it pretty much was hit or miss on any type of benefit. So it made it sound like you'd have to have the mask on 15 minutes before you start working out and keep it on until 30 minutes after you work out. So if you want to do that, I would recommend it. They did see a growth hormone improvement. There were several different, biological improvements. Now, how much did that affect performance on velocity, vertical jump, whatever? Obviously no studies showing that, but there were changes. There were significant improvements in growth hormone, but at the same time too, what do we mean by significant? I don't know. I mean, for example, I remember when the Under Armour's jaw little bite thing, what's that called? I talked to Kurt Hester, who was my trainer, he's in the Strength and Conditioning Hall of Fame. He's the head strength coach at Louisiana Tech, and I asked him what did he think about it, because there were some studies that said, improved strength by improved overall strength and performance. And I asked him, he said it might be a 5% improvement. So, basically he was saying it's not that significant. And I have a feeling elevation training or this mask, yeah, you might feel a little bit of improvement. I don't think it's gonna be anything significant. Something to where I'm thinking about, I'm wearing a mask, really uncomfortable. Maybe initially, obviously, you're not gonna wanna train as much because you're in an uncomfortable state. I don't know, maybe it could bring your energy levels down. I don't know. I mean, the point is this is something I would really want to test out. I would recommend you go test it out if you want to, and tell us about it. But I don't know if the benefits that come out of it would really be that significant. But there is some studies showing that it helps with, say, growth hormone and recovery and stuff like that. But they made it sound like you have to wear it a lot. So, and if you're really cheap, you could just have someone like cover your mouth while you work out. Mm-hmm. You could do that, or they could choke you.
Put chloroform on a napkin.
So So why need the mask? Someone could just choke you while you're which probably a lot of guys would like to do that.
But he'd have to choke you for a while because if you stop in between sets, you're
He's
going
got
to
to be
lose the
very careful.
benefits.
Right. So whatever. It's a good question. I've seen them. I saw Chapman wearing them.
Yeah, I think that's what everybody's seeing.
Everybody sees Chapman. They're like,
wearing it,
geez,
and they're like, oh,
he
Chapman's
must have been
doing it.
wearing that when he was like 12, and that's why he throws 106.
That must have given him his athletic ability.
Yeah, right. That's how we think. Huh? Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I just think it's like when in the Olympics, like sprinters and long distance runners will go train at high altitudes for their training. So when they come back down to sea level, they're just in better condition. So I just think of it as conditioning. It's not something that's going to be like we're saying, like you're going to wear it and it's going to give you like 5 miles per hour on your fastball. But it's like a conditioning thing. But also at the same time, in between pitches, pitchers have a lot of time to recoup. Like they get to catch their breath, walk around the mound and stuff like that. I think that the mask would really help in something that's really like nonstop, like soccer or rugby, where you really have to recover or quickly between your times of doing things. But pitching, not so much that. Maybe just a starting pitcher having to go 5 or 6 innings, it might give them a little bit of a benefit though.
It is interesting. The guy that made the mask, or I don't know if he invented the mask, but he was credited for creating the mask, was Victor Conti, who we know had his lab Balco, where he was trying to revolutionize supplements, and then we found out he was just using steroids on everybody. But so it's kind of cool. It actually links to baseball. So that mask comes from baseball. But there you go. Good question. What's the next question?
Lucas Klein asks, does foot angle at front foot strike affect velocity? Toe towards third base, home, etc.
So foot angle is important to how the hips are going to stabilize, because it's really a reflection of where the hips are. So if my foot angle's open, so in the 3X programs we have a position and placement of the front leg. So when the front leg lands, the placement of the leg is going to be either open or closed. So that would be if the stride line is coming off the middle of the back foot to your target, that's your stride line. If you land inside that, then that's placement, and the position of your foot is position. So, if you landed, a high velocity guy is going to land about 7 centimeters or 9 centimeters inside that line, and he's going to land with the slightly closed foot position. So why does a high velocity guy land there? Makes a good point, is because if you draw that line from the middle of your drive foot to the target, landing about, I think, is it 9 inches? Maybe it's a little bit more. It comes out to probably centimeters. It comes out to about 6 inches, which if the average guy has about a 12 foot, about a foot size shoe, right? So if you're coming out the middle of that shoe, 6 inches is off the toe. So you're actually landing on your heel on the toe line to the target. So that puts you slightly across your body with your landing leg. But you'll notice if you do this, is everyone gets up and puts their drive foot down and then lands in that 6 inches across that line, and of course you're extending your back leg through, you'll find that your landing leg is going across your body. So what that allows is when your hips completely open, it actually points them right to the target. If I actually land more to the open side, say 6 inches to the other side, and my hips fully open, they would actually be pointing off to the on deck circle. So actually landing slightly across your body allows your hips to fully open and lock down. And that's what a high velocity pitcher needs. He needs his hips to fully open and lock down. So then what they call the lumbo-pelvic complex, when that stabilizes, then that creates the ability to stabilize the scaps and accelerate the trunk. And that's what allows us to pick up a lot of speed. So yeah, it's important on the fact that if in the placement it lands, just across the stride line and then slightly closed, so the hips, when they fully open, they're pointing to the target, and then it gets fully open and it locks the hips down.
But how much is slightly, are you saying?
Like 6 inches. So drive middle of the foot to the target, 6 inches across, which is pretty much toe to heel. That's slightly across. And that's
So I'm supposed to be landing. You're supposed to land like this.
no, I'm talking placement. Placement is where the foot went.
Oh, okay.
Position
he's
is
talking
that.
about
I know. I
the-
just added in placement for
Okay.
him. Position now is where's the foot. So the foot needs to be slightly closed because it would be really weird to go to that 6 inches across your body and then turn your foot open. So more than likely your foot's going to be comfortably closed. Okay, if I see a guy's foot's open, that tells me he started rotation early, and more than likely his foot placement was on the open side. So they're going to go hand in hand. The placement of the leg is going to go with the position of the foot. Okay, like I said, you're not going to see. You could though see on the other side. You could see a guy open up and land with the position closed. Okay, so that's why I said we've got to understand placement and position in this whole thing. So the foot position is more an indication of what the hips did. If the hips go early, the foot flies more open. If the hips go late, the foot stays more closed. I'd still like it to be more closed. Really, the placement is what's most important. So the only reason this would affect velocity in his question is because if the foot is open, that tells me the hips probably went early, which means also the foot went open, the placement was across the body. Therefore, the hips, when they open and point to the target, which is typically where they go, they weren't locked down because there was still more room to open, which would have taken them over towards the dugout. So there's instability in the hips, therefore there's instability in the scaps, and then therefore things aren't going to accelerate up the chain. So foot position, just to recap, foot position is an indication of when the hips have gone, and foot placement can be an indication of that, or it could just be an indication you either lost your balance or you're opening in your strides, but that's a better indication of speed, of performance. Like, are your hips going to be able to open and lock down? Or are they just going to open? They're going to open and still have play, and it won't stabilize, which is going to allow you to really peak your speeds in your trunk.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add?
I was just gonna say too, but even like you were showing me David one time too. David would almost land like that too, but his knee would be in, right? Like he would land with his foot almost slightly open the other way, like you're saying, but his leg would still be
It's a good point. When the knee is in, so when your landing leg knee is inside your foot, going towards your throwing arm side, that means your placement is too open. So think about it. Over exaggerate. Put your placement really far open, and where does your knee go? Your knee goes inward. Put your placement really far across your body. Where's your knee go? It goes the opposite way. And we need torsion on that front leg because we need to stabilize the front leg to transfer energy. So that's why also landing slightly across your body allows that knee to stay outside of your foot where torsion occurs, and it's a more stable leg.
Yeah.
So David was doing wrong, which he does. David struggles with wanting to go early. He goes early, even though his foot would open too.
Yeah.
He goes early, his foot was open, and then his knee would go in because his placement was open. So he had an open placement and an open position, which meant his hips went early, and he opened his leg across his body.
But was he still throwing at a high velocity when he was doing
No, because that's the best thing about David, is David would, when he would do an exaggerated version of that, his ball speed would be 3 or 4 miles an hour down. And then David would just take the leg and land more across the body, and he would go 2 to 3 miles an hour up, like next pitch.
So the foot position absolutely does affect velocity.
That was both position and placement.
Yep.
So position and placement absolutely does affect velocity, but just position, no, is more an indication of when the timing of the hips.
Okay.
Which could still affect velocity, but not as effectively as having them both. So I'm just saying you'll understand more about the landing leg if you understand placement and position, where it landed and where the position of the foot was.
That ended up being a better question than I thought. Good question.
Yeah, man, it's complicated, but yeah, it does. It's a good question. Cool. Next question. Oh, that was it?
That was it.
All right. If you have another question, go to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat at TopVelocity, #PitchTips. Ask your question, we answer on the show. Like I said, get set up for these 3X, 2X camps coming up. We actually have a 2X camp in April. We've got the Long Beach camp clinic for 3X in March. We also have, I think, 2 other March camps coming up if you want to get in those. And we've got a ton in the summer. They're going to start filling up. And then we've got 3X training. And we have a lot of guys training here today. Why is today dead?
It's Friday.
It's Friday, that's why it's kind of late. All right, well, cool. We'll see you on the next episode.
Yeah. Hold on, we them boys. them boys.